Alex Bregman is the name that the Red Sox are supposed to have had locked up already for free agents. And they're obviously the only team that hasn't signed one yet. And Bregman is still out there. Bo Bichette is still out there. We're talking with Jackson Roberts of Sports Illustrated. And Jackson, let's start with Bregman. You have called it, many people have called it priority A, priority one for the Red Sox all season. We've talked about it a couple of times already, what his market looks like. Is it shrinking? Is it getting bigger? It sounds like there's still a healthy market for Alex Bregman out there. Is that the way you read into it?
My theory is that there's maybe not that healthy a market.
Okay, all right.
Right now. So what we've gotten this week is two sources. We've got Buster Olney, ESPN, and Jen McCaffrey of The Athletic saying the Red Sox have made, quote, an aggressive offer for Alex Bregman. Only speculated that it might be in the range of 6 years like the Tigers offered last year. My just like unsourced gut reaction would tell me I think they probably made a 5-year offer to Alex Bregman, not 6 years. I don't think they want to pay him when he's 37. Mm-hmm. So if he has a 5-year offer from on the table from the Red Sox, you know he's going around to every other team and saying, beat this, put the pressure on the Red Sox to beat this, etc. And you look at his other suitors right now, and it's basically to me, the Blue Jays are not still in this thing. I know that like Mark Feinsand has said this week that the Blue Jays are still in and a couple other teams, but if anything, they're just trying to put leverage on the Red Sox to get them to spend more money. The Blue Jays signed Okamoto, want to sign Kyle Tucker. I don't see them doing the Alex Bregman thing. The Diamondbacks have basically all but said, if we don't trade Ketel Marte, we can't afford Alex Bregman. And by all appearances, it doesn't look like they're trading Ketel Marte. Therefore, they're probably out too. And if you recall a couple weeks ago, it was like this big report that, Toronto and Arizona are the two most aggressive teams for Alex Bregman. Now I don't really see a way that either of those teams gets him. I mean, knock on wood, but like I don't see it. So that leaves like the Red Sox and the Cubs have been for every bad thing that Red Sox fans have said about John Henry and the Red Sox ownership of late. I think Cubs fans feel 10 times worse about their ownership. Yeah. They don't spend money on the big name players that they should. So I don't see that happening, but at least they're like in the market and they're talking to Bichette too. So I won't rule it out, but I feel like the Red Sox are like the clear, maybe more so than at any other point in this offseason. I feel like they're the clear number one team for Bregman right now.
And looking at it from a baseball standpoint, like we both hate when the Red Sox do stuff like this, when they're like, Bregman's wife loves Boston and he loves playing in Fenway Park. It's like, yeah, you still got to pay the guy though. And when you look at the Red Sox and the Cubs, they're both great baseball towns. They both play in historic ballparks. They both basically had the same season last year. So is there an advantage baseball wise for Alex Bregman to be playing for the Red Sox rather than the Cubs?
Well, there might be a few. I mean, in general, I think the American League is like a more clean path to the World Series right now than in the National League. I do think that if you're just going like pound for pound, talent for talent, the Red Sox with Bregman would maybe project to win a couple more games this year than the Cubs would with Bregman. The Cubs, that's more of like a leadership ad for them, like a, veteran in the clubhouse, extra bat, whatever. The Red Sox very clearly need a third baseman. The Cubs have an infield, like Matt Shaw was pretty good in the second half this year. Nico Horner, 6-WAR player this year, and Dansby Swanson and Michael Busch. So you look at it, and the only way to really make that work is to either trade Nico Horner if you're Chicago, or move Shaw into like this super utility role that I don't think you want your 22, 23-year-old former top prospect playing. So it's a cleaner fit with the Red Sox. And yeah, I just think like, I know the Cubs have like a decent amount of young talent and the rotation's pretty good, but I think the Red Sox rotation is better right now. And I think with the amount of young talent that's kind of emerging onto the scene, I would take the Red Sox, maybe not take their lineup because the Cubs do have some mashers, but you can like dream on the Red Sox lineup surpassing the Cubs lineup based just on the talent that's there right now.
And the other name that keeps popping up, Bo Bichette. In fact, I think when we first mentioned it with you on the show in the offseason, it was almost like a joke. It was like, hey, Bo Bichette hits well at Fenway. He's Game 7 homer. And it just wasn't at the forefront for a lot of brains in Red Sox Nation. It was kind of Bregman or bust, which still feels like we're in. But it's been reported that there's basically two teams that are talking to both Bregman and Bo Bichette, and the Red Sox are one of them. So is this trying to get a smokescreen, trying to put pressure on Bregman, or is there legit interest enough that they could pick Bichette over Bregman?
I don't think they would pick him over Bregman unless something kind of dramatic were to happen. And I don't exactly know what that would look like, but maybe it's Bregman saying he isn't taking anything less than 6 years and the Red Sox are finished waiting for him. And meanwhile, there's this pillow contract possibility with Bichette that exists more so for the Red Sox than other teams who I think would be interested. And honestly, I feel for Bichette right now because I think the Blue Jays choosing Okamoto really puts a hit on his market to where I think the Red Sox still prefer Bregman. It seems like the Blue Jays prefer Kyle Tucker. So then you look at across the board, and there's not really a team, in my opinion, that's saying right now, Bo Bichette's our number one target. And when that happens, and when it gets to be this late in the offseason, I think you are looking at those 2 even year pillow contracts. So, I mean, my honest prediction, I mean, this, like, don't aggregate this, world, but I think he's going to the Dodgers. That's my fear for the rest of the league right now is I think Bo Bichette is going to end up having to take one of those like 2 or 3 year contracts, and the Dodgers, their whole free agency approach right now is we're just like hanging around waiting to see what falls to us. And I think that's going to be the player that ends up like staying on the board long enough for them to take their shot at.
That would be interesting. And I like your take there, like about what the Dodgers are doing. That's what it's felt like. Obviously they've got plenty of long-term contracts, but the way they're looking at it, it's some things have quote unquote fallen into their lap the last season or so. What do you like about Bo Bichette?
Bo Bichette's a really good hitter. Like that's just putting it in the simplest terms possible. Like there's not many players across the league. I think it was a John Heyman like propaganda tweet from an agent, but it was a good point nonetheless. He's like I believe he was the only hitter in the league last year to hit above 300 on fastballs, breaking balls, and off speeds. So like the dude hits everything. And I think what's like maybe a notion to dispel is that he's not a super clean fit for Fenway Park because he does use the opposite field a lot. And I think Red Sox fans will remember this play well, the one where early in the season this year, Bichette hit that laser into the right center field gap and Rafaela ran it down and like crashed into the wall on a slide. Like that's a home run in a lot of places. Bo Bichette like is used to that being a home run. So it's not a super clean fit for Fenway, but what he is just a pure hitter. I think he'll be an okay second baseman in general. Like he is negative 13 outs above average at shortstop this year, but I think a lot of that was just like footwork issues and maybe some conditioning stuff thrown in, and he was coming off an injury. Like I think he can be an okay defensive second baseman, but for somebody, I really like that bat because that's a skill set that not a lot of players possess nowadays. Is just that like pure hitting ability, the 300 batting average with some thump in there, and just putting pressure on a pitching staff at the top of the order. I think that's kind of undervalued in today's game.
And a legacy. Dante Bichette, illustrious career with the Red Sox. I think it was
met his wife at the gym across from Fenway Park.
Yeah, it's all in the lore, dude. It's all in the lore. And Bo Bichette could be the one to take that over. But of course, I would say, and you said, it seems like Bregman is the one they would rather have. This could be kind of an open-ended question, but you've got Trevor Story another year, and I'm mainly focusing this one on Marcelo Mayer. What does Marcelo Mayer, like, how does he factor into all of this when you're talking to two big name free agent infielders?
Yeah, well, unless they get both of them or unless they sign Bregman and trade for Brendan Donovan or something, which I do not want them to trade for Brendan Donovan. I feel like I've made that clear when I've written about it, but I don't think he's a particularly good fit for that lineup in that ballpark as much as he is a good, sturdy baseball player. So I think Marcelo is going to get his chance this year. The question is it going to be at third base or second? What's interesting is we've seen him be really good at third. We barely saw him get to play any second before he hurt himself this past year. And as far as the long-term future goes, the opportunity is there for him to establish himself as, not only a long-term fixture of the infield, but maybe Trevor Story's replacement in a year or 2 years if he can stay on the field this year and produce. I mean, that's really, I think people are more so concerned, and rightfully so, about his ability to stay on the field than they are about what he'll do when he's actually healthy, because he's pretty much done well at every level of the minors when he's been healthy. So, I mean, if he has another injury-plagued year, I think you start hearing more about like how close is this kid Franklin Arias, who's a future Gold Glover at shortstop. He turned 20 at some point this year. Like, could he be up end of 2027 or something like that? And you might start thinking about free agents and trades. But as of right now, I think it's, you have this helpful veteran stopgap in Story, who's only 33, which is old for a shortstop, but not necessarily old for a player in Major League Baseball, period. And you have Marcelo Mayer, who can win this job or he can lose it based on, availability and production.
What have you liked about the Red Sox offseason so far?
I like that they have, I think they've gotten rid of two low-end, number 4, number 5 caliber starters at the Major League level. They've replaced them with two legit Major League starters, including Sonny Gray. You can debate whether he's a number 2 or number 3, but he's a good Major League starting pitcher. And I'm really excited to see what Johan Oviedo is, to be honest with you, because he's kind of a stuff master. He's got this 7.5 feet of extension, 6'6". He's changed up his fastball since he came back from Tommy John surgery, and it was playing a lot better with the Pirates. So I think their rotation is going to be really good as it is. There's always the chance they could, pull off one more crazy trade with Jarren Duran involved and add a number 2 or even like a co-ace. But I think it's a good rotation as is. I like Wilson Contreras fit at Fenway a lot. I think he's going to do better than he did in St. Louis this year. And what he was in St. Louis was already exactly what they were missing, which is like a 120 OPS plus from a right-handed bat at first base. I think he could be 125, 127 type OPS plus this year, just by virtue of, OPS plus is a standardized stat for ballparks and such, but I think you can see a bigger jump when you're not only playing at a better ballpark, but you're in a better lineup. You're in the middle of a playoff chase. Like, I just think he's that type of player. So I like the ads. I just think they very, very obviously need one more big one. And I more so expect that to happen than to not, but the longer it goes without happening, that's when you start to get nervous.
Yeah. I love the Contreras thing. I at first I'm like, just the name. I'm like, okay, uninspiring, but it's an instant upgrade at first base. It's a guy who plays all the time and he can still hit and has some pop from the right-handed side. Like, you just, as much as we like Casas, like, you weren't getting that. The guy wasn't on the field, and he's not been on the field, and we don't know if that's going to be a career-long thing. It's kind of what we were talking about with Meyer. It's not the production when he is on the field, it's him getting on the field. Pitching, though, is an interesting one. That's kind of how we started this offseason. A lot of pitching, and then of course you got to have Bregman too, but you got to go out there. You got this capital. You can make some deals for a starting pitcher. You do Sonny Gray. A lot of people were saying he's your 4. You can still go out and get a 2. You said this is a good rotation right now. Do you think the Red Sox would be comfortable with that, or do they have to make another move before opening day?
I think they're comfortable. I'm not ruling it out, but I think they're in a position to only make a move if something really appealing becomes available to them. So, for instance, all offseason, based on everything we've heard, it sounds like the Royals are hitting up the Red Sox asking about Jarren Duran, and they're saying, we'll give you Jarren Duran if you give us Cole Reagans. Now, I don't think the Royals would be smart to do that, but if at some point they come back and say, all right, we've found no other offense, we like our rotation enough to get rid of Reagans, you give us Duran and more, and you can have Cole Reagans, like, I absolutely think the Red Sox would do that. I just don't think it's been accessible to them yet. I think JJ Piccolo is looking at Breslow saying, like, no, dude, F you. We're not giving you Cole Reagans. So something like that would be the one exception, but I think they are comfortable. And the reason they're comfortable is because they have like 12 guys who could be, at some point this year, staples of a rotation. And I think even right now, you're basically looking at Cutter Crawford, Peyton Tolley, Connolly Early, and Patrick Sandoval, and Kyle Harrison, if you want to throw him in there, fighting for one spot in spring training. So that's 4 guys at least that you're going to have, like, that can start a major league game and be good, either in AAA or throwing long relief innings. So I like the depth. I like the high end talent. Even today, you're seeing like Christopher Smith saying people within the Red Sox organization think Kyson Witherspoon can debut this year and that he can, maybe start at AA. Like, the pitching pipeline's gotten really good really fast. And I think the fact that they haven't moved totally or early in a trade means they really like where they're at with this pitching pipeline, and that it can be something special, not just this year, but especially like a couple of years from now.
Yeah, my next one's about early and Tolley. I was just about to say it's telling that we haven't even heard rumors about those guys being put into trades in the recent weeks and months here. So do you think, with all those guys battling for that one spot, do you think it's one of Early or Tolley, if you had to bet, as which one is going to stick on in the middle of the season?
Middle of the season, I think they'll at least one, if not both, will be there. To begin the season, I could envision a scenario where they both are not in the rotation, but I also think you have to think back to last spring, where we were talking about the Red Sox maybe using a 6-man rotation because they had too many guys. And then within a week of spring training starting, it was Cutter Crawford, Lucas Giolito, and Brian Bayo are all hurt already. And we're using Sean Newcomb as our number 5 starter to start the year. So I think they're in a better position to avoid something like that this year. And I think, as much as I just said, there's 5 guys fighting for one spot, it's probably going to be more like 5 guys fighting for 2 or 3 spots, or 4 guys fighting for 2 spots. Like, these things, unfortunately, especially in today's MLB, have a way of working themselves out.
Yeah. And like, knock on the most wood possible, but like, you also had a guy in Garrett Crochet who you didn't know could throw 180 innings, and then he leads the league in innings pitched, and there's been some trouble before with Alex Cora and pitching staff. So that's to your point of there's probably going to be more than one spot open. Jackson, appreciate you hopping on and joining us today. Before we get you out of here, anything you've got in the oven, and where can people find it?
I mean, what I've got in the oven is hoping for Alex Bregman to sign soon, because I've written about every angle of, why it could or could not happen and what we know up to this point. So I just know that my mind is prepared to write the Alex Bregman re-signs with the Red Sox article. And when that happens, it'll happen on Red Sox.
You're just waiting to have the figures ready to go. Everything else written out. Bang. Red Sox on SI. That's where you find him. Jackson, thank you so much for giving us this update. When really there aren't many updates out here, you find a way to keep us updated and brief. Always appreciate you coming on.
Anytime. Thank you.
There he goes. Jackson Roberts, Red Sox on SI. Check it out. I've been all over it all off season long, just looking for any rumors, seeing what any statistical analysis Jackson has that says this thing could happen. We're going to be waiting. I imagine we're probably going to be waiting until after Patriots season for Alex Bregman to sign. But let me know what you think. Who should be the priority? How are you worried about the Alex Bregman thing? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Helps me keep my job and helps us on the path towards 5,000 subscribers. Appreciate you guys who tune in every day. It is your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio right here on the Wicked Boston Show.